Hi, so what I'm going to show you guys today is how I get my drone footage, my DJI drone footage, and how I use DaVinci Resolve to edit and color grade. And yeah, so we can see how good DaVinci Resolve is. I know not a lot of people are using it, but because it's free, I think everyone should have a go with it. It's a great color corrector. It's an okay timeline editor, and it's very, very powerful. So yeah, so we'll begin. I've got my drone footage here. You can see here it's 4K footage in H.264 format, 30 frames per second. Obviously, there's no sound. Right, one of the things I found with DaVinci Resolve is DaVinci Resolve does not like this codec at all. Being a professional grade NLE, a non-linear editor, it really wants you to work with professional file formats, uncompressed file formats. It likes them, it runs smoothly with them, and they're just much easier to work with. So you'll see here if I play this little clip from my Mavic Pro in H.264, you can see it's lagging. This is no good. If I was trying to edit this on a timeline and cut things and trim and change timelines, this is inconsistent. Then I'm going to run into problems with trying to sync it with music, etc. etc. So what you can do in DaVinci Resolve is it has a built-in transcode tool, so you can convert the file formats to an uncompressed file format. So, before we start, I'll just show you what my project settings are. My master project settings are here. I work exclusively in 1080p. I like to record in 4K because when you scale it down to 1080p, there's just much more detail. It's cleaner. So that's why I choose to record in 4K and scale down to 1080. Not many things are in 4K at the moment. Most people have 1080p screens anyway. It's not really worth the extra file size and the extra pressure on a system. My timeline frame rate is 24 frames per second. My playback frame rate is also 24 frames per second. Don't really need to focus on this video monitoring too much. It should just set itself. One other screen that's always handy to have is your general options here. Some people like to cache their files. I do sometimes. So I automatically I have this set to catch frames in DNX HRLB, enable background catching, and optimize media. Choose automatically DNXHR. So how do I go about transcoding the footage before I start editing? Well, you start off on this media page here. You can go through all your files on your computer. So I have one here. This one is exclusively for footage that I edit. I can then grab whatever videos I want, and I can literally just drag and drop them straight into this work area. So that we've done that. I don't need to show you that. Right. So to begin the transcoding process, you grab the footage that you want. So I'll grab these. I think it's 14 clips I put in here for 15 clips. These are timelines that I've already set up, so I'm not gonna set them. And this is another bin because I've already transcoded the footage to save some time on the video. So yeah, select the clips that you want. File. File. Media management. And then you just start at the top of the page here. You can select like entire projects, which I don't really want to do. I just want to do these individual clips. So transcode all media. You set your destination where you want it to be saved. So let's just say there. You've now got the media destination. Right, the big one is video format. So I personally, if I was on a Mac now, I would use ProRes. But because I'm on a PC, I will use the PC equivalent. So video format QuickTime. Codec is DNXHR-HQX. I don't really know what the difference between HQ and HQX is, but I think HQX allows you to go all the way up to 4K. Right. I'm scaling down the resolution, so I already have this as a preset to go down to 1920 by 1080p. And audio, again, linear PCM or AAC, depending on what you want. There's no sound in this, so it's not going to render any sound anyway. You can see here the current file size of these 14 clips is 2.51 gigabytes. The new uncompressed file size is 9.1 gigabytes. So if you're working with large projects, which I do sometimes with weddings, I normally look at this new file size is around 200 gigabyte, 250 gigabyte. So yeah, we're talking large file sizes. If I wanted to render this at 4K, you can see it's 4 times the size. It goes from 9 to 36. It's 4 times the size. Again, one of the reasons why I don't like working with 4K. So anyway, that's all set. I will press start, and that will transcode. Go and have a cup of tea. It takes a little while. It's the price you pay for smoother editing process. Anyway, I've already done it to save some time, and I've already imported the footage into a new bin. So I can now show you, the metadata here is DNXHRHQX, 30 frames per second, 1920 by 1080. It's been scaled down. So I will show you the original clip in H.264. As we've said before, look, lags. The red dot means it doesn't like it. There's something wrong here. I'll full screen it for you so you can see. This is what it looks like in 4K. Nice sharp trees. It looks good. It looks fine. But if I go to the new transcoded footage, exactly the same clip in 1080p, and I play this one, bang, it's green, it's 30 frames per second, it's consistent, it's holding. This is nice and smooth. This is much easier to work with. I will also show you, despite the fact I've scaled it down to 1080p, if I go full screen again, I personally can't actually see that much of a difference. There might be a slight difference, but for me, this is clean. It's good. I can work with this. The trees are still nice and sharp. Loads of details around here. It's good. Yeah, this is all the transcoded footage now, ready to be plonked into a timeline, which I will show you. I already have a timeline. I have several timelines actually set up. I will do up timeline 1. Some clips in here. And yeah, this works very much the same as Premiere Pro. One thing I will point out is, as I've said with the footage and being DaVinci, it forces you to work with file formats that it sees as superior. So you cannot work with MP3 sounds. It will not let you. You have to convert them to a WAV file before you bring it into DaVinci Resolve. There's many ways to do it. I personally I record anyway, so I use I can't remember the name of the program I use now. Let's have a look. Cubase. I use Cubase, and I can just import an MP3 into there and then re-export it as a WAV and be done with it. So I've got one here that I already done. It's just a little piano thing I threw together, and I just exported it in WAV. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, you can see the timeline because I set the timeline to 24 frames per second. It's holding nice and smooth at 24 frames per second. For me, the major reason why I like to use DaVinci Resolve, coming from a photography background, is its color correcting application. Whilst the editor itself is quite basic, Premiere Pro is probably better for professionals, but I'm not a professional. But for me, it's this color grading. So I just turn these layers off. Here is my footage straight out of the camera. And here's my layers. I've only actually used 2 of them, so I can get rid of these ones. Delete node. Delete node. Delete node. And then on, that's my color grade. that's what I've done, and I will show you what I've done there. I will disable, these are all bypassed, just disable this node. Disable this node. So here, these are all your color correcting tools. You can show your timeline here, the order of the clips. I've got that hidden. And yeah, here's your parade, your scopes from obviously 0 is black all the way up to white, and all your color ranges in between. You have various, histograms, vector scopes. That's the line for your skin tones. Waveform works very much the same thing. It's just a combined version of parade. So yeah, I personally like to use parade. And then what you can do here is lower. So I'll tell you what. I will reset this node grade. So we're back to the beginning. What you can do here is camera raw, color matching. This is used for people that use color checkers. If you're filming with a color checker card, you can add a color chart. You would whack this over your color chart, and then you'd press match, and it would square it all up, and then all your footage on your color correction is all the way done. But obviously, I don't do that with drones. It's not really worth the time. So yeah, this is the primary focus, is your color wheels. So I'm going to lift the gamma gain. I'm going to lift a little bit. Oh, select the wrong node there. I'm going to lift a little bit. Just take some there. Actually, I'll put a bit of gain, and I'm just going to bit of contrast in there by bringing the gamma down slightly. The color temperature here for me is a bit cold. It was a murky day, so I'm just going to warm this up a bit with color temperature. Warming up a little bit of mid-tone sharpening. You can play with your shadows and your highlights here. You've got some other things here, contrast. Again, I don't really like to add too much contrast, because it can look a bit tacky. I've actually taken some out there. So yeah, there's my primary color correction. Then what you can do is, I'll just reset this node as well. I like to use LUTs after I've leveled the footage out. So again, you can go to a 3D LUT here. Oh, before I forget, what you can also do here is these color wheels, you can color correct certain channels. So in the shadows, if I wanted to manually do it without using a LUT, I could put some blue in, a little bit of blue down here, or whatever. You can do it. Prefer to do it from these color wheels. Blue in the shadows, orange in the highlights. You got loads and loads and loads and loads of options. It's best to just play with them, find out what you like. Sometimes I have to use these, sometimes I don't. LUTs make things a lot easier. So I can, Kodachrome's quite a good one. That's too much. I'll bring it down. So yeah, this is just rough, but you can see how the whole footage has changed. So there. I personally think that looks quite nice. I quite like that. So yeah, that's importing, transcoding, and color correction. And then obviously when you were finished, you would come here to delivery. You've got all the YouTube presets or custom, and then after that is when I would then go to H.264 at the end. So yeah, hopefully that helps you a little bit, and I will see you soon.